Hello and welcome, dear friends, colleagues, interested readers to our second Communications Room Dialogue. First of all, thank you very much for all your interest, for the many views of our posts and still many views on the video on our YouTube channel. I feel encouraged, and Hartmut, I think you do so as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the same perspective from my side. Thanks everyone for joining, and looking forward to the next session. Today.
Yeah, and as we said in our first dialogue, attitude and individual purpose are the foundation for everything, so to say. And of course, this is a strong thesis, and it may need some proof. And this is why we will discuss attitude and individual purpose in this Communications Room Dialogue. Before we start into that, two remarks. One is here in southern Germany, forecasts say we have the last cold winter day with freezing temperatures of this year. And to honor that, I took my snowman cup for today to have my coffee in the snowman cup. And the second remark, maybe a little bit more honest, is as you can see, we are on a new platform, which is called wonder.me, which gives us, together with you, we strongly hope with you, more flexibility and more possibilities to discuss together. We have invited you already in our last post. We will continuously do so. We will have that Communications Room Dialogue every Friday from 12:30 p.m. onwards, and we would be happy to have you in the room to discuss and share with you not only our thoughts, but your thoughts as well. So now back to attitude and individual purpose as the foundation for everything. Let's do kind of a brainstorming first, which is now the task that I give to Hartmut. Hartmut, what comes to your mind when I say attitude?
Yeah, so when you say attitude, I think that I make the easiest association with the topic of sports, actually, because there are so many examples around in sports, and everyone actually has the opportunity to experience this, whether it's in team sports, whether you go to the football ground at the weekend or watch nowadays in virtual broadcasts, or if you do sports yourself. And also in my past, I have such an experience, because for quite some time, I would say I did not live so healthy, did not do too much sports myself, so it was over 10 years, I would say, between the age of 30 and 40, and then at my 40th birthday, more or less, I came to the conclusion that now makes sense to get started on sports. And this was for me a triggering point where I said, well, I have to change my mindset, to change my attitude, and to start doing sports. And together with a friend, this then happened at a slightly later Oktoberfest evening, when these kind of events still happened. We said we will run the next marathon in 2010, was the next coming year. And we started both practicing, training, and did these regular exercises, got a training plan, started to run really regularly, and in the end it worked out. So this was for me one of the moments where I said attitude counts, but where I also experienced that attitude, that you can change attitude. It's not something artificial. If you do it, if you get into this regular mode of exercising, then it can work. And that's also for me the connection between actually mind and body somehow. So these two parts of a person fit together in this, because in this training, I think, and particularly in the training and sports, for example, mindset and body come together. So they reinforce each other, and you can get into such a mode of changing the attitude and to keep this also over a pretty long time, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's something everyone can experience. So once you get into this kind of flow
Yeah.
and mode of doing things.
Yeah, maybe not everyone has the strong will that is necessary to eventually do a marathon. And still we are exactly at a point where it becomes obvious that attitude is something that contributes to the way you live and maybe the success you will have in life. I mean, it's pretty well known for thousands of years. In fact, the Romans said mens sana and corpore sano, which shows the interrelation. So a healthy mind in a healthy body. Yeah. And attitude is something that we all have, but we not always know consciously. Yeah. And to have the strong will to practice and practice and practice until you can do the marathon is a part of an attitude, of course. The social psychology, in fact, has been working on attitudes for quite a while. And they have, to put it in a nutshell, 4 aspects to describe attitude. One is attitude as an orientation framework. The second is orientation as a value system, which already links into one another. Then attitude as a conviction, and attitude as a set of behaviors. And last but not least, in this case, attitude as a tool to reach a target. And here we are talking about business communications and what could the right or appropriate attitude be. Yeah? First of all, maybe an example on conviction, yeah? And on value system, which again buys into one another. It is a matter of a conviction and your values, whether you are religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, for example. And convictions are very hard to change. Many other things being a part of attitude, so your orientation framework and maybe your compass, they can be either changed or at least shifted. Shifted in a way that you consciously have to think about. Yeah? And our thesis that attitude is the basis for everything and individual purpose is underlined by just the fact that psychologists know that if you want to change something, you first of all have to change yourself, because that is the only thing that you can be 100% sure about that will change if you want it to change. And all the other things follow then. So therefore, it really is the foundation and the basis. And we have done research in different ways. And I, for example, found a study done by Harvard University about the success factors on how to get, keep, and do a good job. And controversial to what we would think, they found out that your knowledge, your expertise makes 15% of your success to get, keep, and do a job, and attitude is about 85%. Think about that. And therefore, it makes a lot of sense to work consciously on the appropriate attitude for, in our case, doing business communications. And find your individual attitude and your individual purpose. In order to make that handleable and digestible, we have put together a model with 5 aspects of attitude. So one is self-understanding. And it's obvious, whether you think about yourself, for example, as a communicator, as being just a service provider, or whether you think that your job is to be a strategic partner. It starts with yourself and what you think about how you want to be perceived and what role you want to fill. Yeah. Then it comes to behavior, for sure. There are different behaviors that that make your counterpart act in different ways. We all know that. Beginning with the relationship we are in with our beloved ones, everyone knows the trigger, how to make the other one upset in seconds. Okay, let's go to the third one. It's about your persuasive power. What is necessary to convince your partner, your counterpart, of the necessary things, for example, to do a transformation, to do a change, from a communication perspective or from a managerial perspective, as we want to bring managers and communicators together. Then self-confidence. You can be very self-confident if you don't have the appropriate self-understanding behavior and persuasive power. It will not help. On the other hand, if you cannot present yourself in a self-confident way, you will not be perceived the way you want to be perceived. So another important point as well, and the fifth aspect that we have put to the aspects of the social psychologist is your business orientation. If you do business communications, it is mandatory to be interested in the business you are working for. To what extent, in which role, that is something that can be worked on consciously as well. And this is the way how we would work together with you guys on developing an attitude that is the appropriate or the best possible foundation in order to do a new way of business communications. And it's not only us thinking about individual purpose and attitude, but many others as well. I think, Hartmut, you have an example for us.
Yes, sure, and that brings me back actually to this term of developing that you just mentioned, because attitude for me has this developing and developmental aspect too. And there's a whole theory also in psychology behind this, so that attitude is not static or fixed somehow, but that you can really push and develop it yourself if you make yourself the developmental stages conscious, if you bring it to your consciousness. One such concept is called spiral dynamics, that comes from psychology, and it has also been transferred to the organizational level by people like Frederic Laloux in his book Reinventing Organizations. And this psychology actually follows this perspective that every child and every adult follows a certain number and sequence of developmental stages. And these stages can also be found in organizations again. So it really makes sense to have this combination, both the individual perspective and also the organizational framework, because the organization in the end is also the sum of the individuals that work in a team or in a whole company, depending on what you look at. And let me just look at three of these developmental stages, because we also found these, and I did a kind of a smaller research project with students from Munich University back in last spring and summer when we had the first lockdown. And we interviewed managers actually on where they stand, and both with regards to mindset, but also the organizational challenges they have, and how the sense making works in this context. And what really came across that that Corona brought enabled this shift from a stage which Frederic Laloux calls orange, which is the machine model of an organization, where it's a lot about competition, about performance, and these daily business as usual routines that we have in large companies. And by
Maybe the 20th century model
yeah,
comes to my mind.
yeah, probably yes, and a lot of this comes back from originates from companies like GE who actually optimized this in the last 1 or 2 decades. I would say, looking back to people like Jack Welch, who symbolized this type of a manager, very competitive, tough, focused on the figures. And and Corona, I think, gave a lot of managers a kind of push in the direction to reflect more and to leave this field of business as usual and the daily routines. And now that people are more in a different environment where home office and family and work get mixed up, there is more like a motivation to reflect. And a lot of people now discover that the next stage of development, which Frederic Laloux calls the green stage, which is the agile way of working, now is much more prominent and also accepted. And a lot of prejudices, maybe that existed until 12 months ago, now are suddenly gone, and people experiment with this. And even if you look beyond green, there's another stage described by Frederic Laloux. It's called teal, and that's another phase where purpose is seen more evolutionary, and where also an organization gets more conscious about the overall organizational purpose. That's collated by the sum of the individual purposes, and where topics like wholeness, self-management become even more prominent, and where also the whole mindset topic then comes to the next stage. But this stage, I think we haven't reached yet. Maybe that's the potential we can work towards. But this shift from orange to green, so from the machine model to the family model, there's definitely some movement in the organizations, and also of course in the individuals that work in the organizations, which are the managers and employees, and that's, I think, a positive sign.
Yeah, it looks like really that, as we said, the tipping year, first of all, ended the 20th century, as I posted on LinkedIn and as we are convinced of. Like the 19th century ended with the end of World War I, which was in 1918, and now the 20th century ended with the tipping year 2020 with Corona and the need to do things differently without any alternative. And therefore it is a good chance to think about where to go, how to proceed. And of course the purpose topic has been rising in the last 2 or 3 years before Corona already. So purpose was a buzzword. And now it becomes a necessity, let me put it that way, because in the 20th century thinking, purpose was something I tend to guess in at least some managers' heads that was nice to have. But now it's a real necessity, because working like the machine in the 20th century is not the way people want to proceed from here, or want to start from here, from the tipping year onwards. And we can easily see that the individual purpose and the purpose of a company again have to somehow fit into one another. So without a personal framework, without a personal value system, without a personal compass, I am strongly convinced it is very difficult to develop a trustworthy company purpose. Either difficult or even impossible. So what are the values, the way of doing business is based upon? And it's important, it has become more important with the tipping year, and that's the real chance now to do a substantial change or a sustainable change, and not just a word, just
Just a buzzword.
just telling the buzzword and doing a presentation, and that's it. And if you want to change, then back again, it starts with the people themselves. Of course, there's a lot of now possibilities out there and tools to do digital mining and digital analysis and all that stuff. But the question still remains the same, like from the beginning of time. What for? Yeah? And based on what orientation framework, based on what value system will you take which decisions? So we come back to taking decisions consciously is the one thing that ensures your future success. And therefore it is the basis and the foundation for everything that follows to work on your attitude and individual purpose. Yeah, because the next step then is how to work together with your counterparts and all your colleagues in the company. And Hartmut, you mentioned the psychologists with spiral dynamics. Both of us have been reading a book that has been published in German first and now is being published in English as well, which says Mindset Matters. And the author, Martin Parmentier, he thinks pretty much the same way that like we do. So if you want to improve an organization to do sustainable, future-proof business, it really starts with the mindset, with the attitude that people have in being leaders, in being colleagues, in being whatever. And he has 6 development steps of that mindset. And we don't care whether it's 6 or 4 or whatsoever. It shows that it is possible to develop an appropriate mindset and individual purpose in order to bring your individual and company goals together, to lead a decent life according to the values that you have, and to really bring benefit to the world if that is something that gives you purpose. For me, it is this way.
Yeah.
So it looks like we are on the right track.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, and I also share this this positive view together with you, and also based on 2 recent projects or projects I'm still working on. I've also seen this happening actually in larger organizations. So in one case, we worked with a leadership team, and they wanted to change the leadership culture, bring it to the next level. And this goal and topic brought us immediately to the request from within the team to actually exchange the individual purposes. So this was the starting point, and I think people now realize this almost automatically. So it was not us as consultants teaching about this, but the request came from the team itself. And the same is happening with the second team. That's about the customer interface and how to improve conversations between the company and their customers in the B2B environment. And again, the starting point is the individual purpose of the salesperson. And this way, I think you can go through the entire company somehow. So it's not just a topic for communicators, but also for marketing, for IT, for top management. Wherever you look at, this individual purpose gets more and more important, and making the purpose conscious, sharing it with others, and this way you also get step by step quite easily to the overall collective or organizational purpose, and then it's also not like an artificial thing anymore, not like just another marketing claim, but it comes from within the organization if you share this through conversation. So And this seems to be quite powerful, yeah. So not to introduce it
Yeah,
as something from outside, but getting these stories from the stories that are told by the people themselves in the organization. So, and that's quite encouraging because usually it's a very positive discussion, and people also meet themselves, and from another perspective, they learn a lot of new things about who they work with. In some cases, over probably 8 or 10 years, or even decades, they
yeah,
learn new
yeah,
things
yeah, yeah.
from these conversations, and the overall understanding increases for each other by this way
So,
of working and talking. And that's then basically a kind of origin of communication too. I think having this type of dialogue and open exchange.
yeah. Great. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Yeah.
And I really would like now everybody who had the chance to watch this video and all who have now the feeling that yes, there may be something in it. First of all, discuss with us coming Friday here in our communications room on Wonder what you think about it. Yeah, are we on a proper way, or are we lost in the desert, or whatever? What is your opinion about that? And if you are already convinced by what we have been telling you and really want to work on that, then go to communicationsroom.net and apply for one of our trainings. We have several dates there for you to choose from. So that was it from my side for this time. Again, a lively discussion with you, Hartmut. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I give the final word to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I hope some mind-opening moments again, also for our listeners and new followers maybe of this stream. So we'll keep it going definitely for the next weeks. Every time, every Friday, 12:30 p.m. CET. We'll be back on this communications room on Wanda. And thanks for participating. Thanks for watching, and thanks, Mark, for the great exchange. So it's always a great pleasure to do this together with you. So thanks to everyone. Have a great day and see you soon.
Yes. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.